Funding and support for this project has been provided by the State of Washington Department of Labor and Industries Safety and Health Investment Projects.
On behalf of the Washington Wine Industry Foundation and Labor and Industries, we would like to welcome you to Safety for Small and Medium-Sized Wineries, a Labor and Industries SHIP grant project. It is our goal to introduce you to some of the regulatory requirements to keep you and your employees safe within your winery. We hope you enjoy.
Welcome to our video on confined spaces. We want you to get the most out of these training videos. Just sit back and listen to the presentation, as all of this information is available to you at winerywise.org under Winery Safety. During this presentation, we hope you learn what confined spaces are, how they apply to you, and some examples of confined spaces within and around your winery.
Labor and Industries provide standards for confined spaces. These can be found on the Labor and Industries website located at www.lni.wa.gov or through a quick internet search for Washington State Labor and Industries. There are a variety of confined spaces in and around wineries. Wineries must have a written confined space program and provide documented training. This can be a section or chapter within their written accident prevention program.
Confined spaces are a space that are large enough and arranged so an employee can fully enter the space and work, has limited or restricted entry or exit, and is not primarily designed for human occupancy.
Some examples of confined spaces in wineries are wine tanks, sump pits, presses, sewer or wastewater vaults, utility vaults, tanker trucks, grape crush equipment, crawl spaces, and even some excavations.
If you have a space that meets the definition of a confined space, you must assume that it is a permit-required confined space. If it is possible to perform the work needed without entering the space, do that.
Your documented confined space program is required to consist of a written program, employee training, access control of confined spaces, and marking all confined spaces.
Each year in the wine industry, there are near misses and fatalities as a result of improper confined space entries. Take the time to get it right. Entering confined spaces are seen as one of the most hazardous tasks within a winery. DOSH provides standards for confined spaces at WAC 296-809.
A permit-required confined space has the potential to contain a hazardous atmosphere, or it contains a physical hazard. An example is electrical or moving parts. You must inform employees and control entry to permit-required confined spaces, and post signage reading "Danger, permit-required confined space, do not enter," or something similar.
Take measures to prevent unauthorized employees from entering permit-required confined spaces. An example would be to lock your permit-required confined spaces. If you hire a contractor, the contractor is responsible for following all confined space requirements.
Your written program must be developed before employees enter any confined spaces, and it must include the means, procedures, and practices to be used for safe entry, permit entry procedures, the designation of roles such as entrants, attendants, and entry supervisors, and how are you going to train your employees on their designated roles. Outline how you are going to prevent unauthorized entry, and be sure to specify your rescue procedures.
Employees must be trained on how to perform their designated roles safely before being assigned confined space duties. Training must ensure that the employees have the understanding, skills, and knowledge necessary to perform their assigned duties in a safe manner. Provide retraining when there is new hazard present, or if it becomes evident that employee knowledge or use of procedures is inadequate. Employees must be certified on their assigned duties.
Training must provide the procedures for the safe permit-required entry of a confined space. The training must cover the permit process, how to identify, evaluate, and control the hazardous conditions of your space prior to entry, the test methods for evaluating the atmosphere, and rescue procedures. Entrants shall have the opportunity to observe any testing or monitoring that is done prior to their entry.
Entrants are responsible for the following. This includes, but is not limited to, having the knowledge of and being aware of hazards, know how to use the equipment, communicate with the outside attendant, alert the outside attendant of any changes or issues, exit the space quickly if instructed to, recognize warning systems and detect any problems, and evacuate the space if the evacuation alarm or device is activated. An example would be the fire alarm.
Outside attendants are responsible for the following, and this includes but is not limited to having an understanding of the hazards present, being aware of the behavioral effects associated with the hazards present. They will monitor the entrance and monitor activities both inside and outside the space. They can order entrants to evacuate the confined space if necessary, and they may perform non-entry rescues.
Keep in mind that the outside attendant can also serve as the entry supervisor. Entry supervisors are responsible for, and this includes but is not limited to, overseeing the operation, having knowledge of the hazards, verifying the information on the permit, testing, and procedures, terminating or canceling the entry when completed or a condition not covered by the permit is discovered, verifying the rescue plan, keeping unauthorized people out of the entry area, and signing the permit.
The permit must be completed before entry is authorized. It shall identify the space being entered, the purpose of the entry, the date and authorized duration of the entry, the hazards of the space, test results, both initial and periodic, for example, oxygen levels, the measures used to control hazards for safe entry, and the rescue plan and equipment. All people involved, the entry supervisors, entrants, etc., must be identified and sign the permit. The permit must be posted at the location during the confined space entry, and the permit must be kept for your records for at least 1 year.
Examples of required equipment to be used during a confined space entry would be a full body harness, a retrieval line, and air monitoring equipment.
Some examples of potential hazards in confined spaces are carbon dioxide or a lack of oxygen, electrical, mechanical, pneumatic, or chemical.
Use non-entry rescue systems or methods whenever possible. Do not assume you will be able to get confined space entry assistance from your local emergency services. Your rescue plan, procedures, and agreements must be in place prior to any confined space entry. Rescuers must be able to proficiently rescue employees from a permit-required confined space. Rescue procedures must be practiced at least once every 12 months. Procedures must be well established, and at least one employee involved shall hold a current certification card in first aid and CPR. Practice, practice, practice.
We hope you've increased your safety knowledge from this video and that you'll take this information back to your winery to help make it the safest place that it can possibly be. While every effort was made to ensure the accuracy of the information presented here, it is nonetheless the responsibility of each winery owner to ensure that their safety protocols and safety training are consistent with their own winery operations. Thank you for your time.